Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, the 13th of February. It is Galentine's and it is Self-Love Day. So I thought for my beautiful offering today, I would do a not only self, but a love masterclass. Because this week it has been so hard out in the world, and I thought that's how I can be of service. So come on in, everybody. Happy Friday. So today, you know what, you guys, we're not here to deny pain, anger, or injustice. We are here to remember that love is the most powerful force available to us, and that choosing love is an act of courage. So come on in, you guys. I see people are starting to gather. Come on in. I'm just going to make sure my phone is off. And perfect. Hello, I see people are starting to come on in. Say hello, everybody. And if you're going to watch us on the replay, tell me that it's the replay. Happy Self-Love Day. Happy Love Day. Happy Galentine's, everybody. I'm in red because it's a color of love. And I have hearts on my ears. And today I want to just invite you to put a hand on your heart, feet flat on the floor. And let's take a big deep breath in through the nose and blow it out. And let's do that 2 more times, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And 1 more time and blow it out. And I want to invite you into a silent intention. Where am I being invited to choose love today? Love is not weakness. Love is strength guided by wisdom. And the other day when I felt strongly guided to create this, the reasoning was there is so much out there right now that is not in our highest and greatest good. Let's just put it that way. And as I went down a rabbit hole that was not good for my health, my husband said to me, "Gee, I don't think that's good for you." And I sat with what he said, and it really did resonate. And so right then and there, I thought, okay, my intention, God, is what is bringing me closer to you and what is leading me farther away. And so, love is of the divine. And so that's a big intention. Where am I being invited to choose love today? So there's a lot of hate in the collective. And what I have to say about that is this. Hate is unprocessed pain. Just let that land for a moment. Unprocessed pain. Hate is fear looking for somewhere to land. Hate is often grief without language. And I was like, that's an interesting one, God. Hate is grief without language. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting, because when you are in a lot of grief, which I can recognize that right now, having lost both of my parents and the sale of our family home, I recognize that I have a choice each and every day to be loving and kind, or I can be miserable and angry. Well, of course, most of you know that I choose being loving and kind and healing my life. Most hate is a wound asking to be seen. Is a wound asking to be seen. This is why healing is so important. And healing is not a once and done. You can't go to one retreat or one event or one circle and it's a once and done. Oh no, my friends. It is a every day making a conscious decision to choose love, to choose healing, to choose stepping into grace, and asking yourself that question, is this bringing me closer to the divine or further away? Hate is not the opposite of love. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear. And I want, it's really interesting because I work closely with my angels, and I align with the divine each and every day. And when I read that the first time, fear is the opposite of love. I was like, isn't that true? Because the dark, right? We were, as children, maybe not taught to fear the dark, but we were afraid of the dark. Well, some of us, let's say some of us, we were afraid of the boogeyman. We were afraid of the devil. We were afraid of the dark. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Forget everything and run. Well, let's reframe it. How about we face everything and rise? And rising is part of the ascension process. And where do we ascend to? We ascend back to love. We ascend back to Jesus. Jesus was the first ascension. God sent him in our image to have an experience, to be a teacher. And then he died on the cross for us and ascended. On the third day, he ascended into heaven. And so this is what I want to say. When we meet hate with hate, we multiply it. When we meet hate with love, we interrupt it. When we understand hate, we stop feeding it. And that's the thing. Each day we need to be conscious of, what are we feeding? Are we feeding love or are we feeding hate? Love is a steady choice to care for another's well-being as deeply as your own, and to act on that care with presence, honesty, and compassion. At its core, love has a few essential dimensions. Attention. Truly seeing and listening to someone without agenda. Commitment. Choosing them again and again, especially when it's inconvenient. Care in action. Not just a feeling, but behaviors that protect, nourish, and uplift. Respect. Honoring the other as a whole person, not a means to an end. Growth. Allowing both people to evolve without possession or control. You know, a lot of people, when I was creating this, I was like, this is really deep, angels, thank you. Because I am on a journey of learning unconditional love. Because without judgment, though I have experienced a lot of conditions being put on me in order to get the love that I desire. And when I reflected on that, I thought I put conditions on others as well. And so before my mother passed away, you know, I said to God, I know the 5 pillars of Earth School I learned from one of my mentors: faith, trust, compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love. I am a woman of faith. I am learning to trust the process. I do believe I'm compassionate. I am very forgiving to a fault. And it was that unconditional love that I was on a journey to discover more of, to give it and to receive it. And as my mother lay on her deathbed, which I did not know that it ended up to be her deathbed, I remember my mother was altered in her consciousness. And I remember she always wanted us to hold her hand. And to me, that was great sharing of my love with her. And I remember having my eyes closed and praying over her. And I heard my angels say, G, you have an opportunity here to forgive your mother and forgive yourself for whatever you think she hasn't done or you haven't done or they've done or what you've done. And I was like, well, of course. And in that moment, I felt this feeling of love and light wash over the two of us. And even last week when I was with my sister and my brother, the three of us were saying how our mother was a saint. My mother afforded us unconditional love. Now, let me preface that by saying, of course, she was human. And of course, we had our stuff, our learning, our growth, our healing, our expansion. However, my mother was so evolved and so conscious of the divine and of goodness that she each and every day did her best to impart it on the five of us. And as we reflect now on not having them in this physical realm, we recognize their goodness, their light, their love. And yes, also their shadow. And we recognize they did the best that they could. They loved us as much as they could. And so love shows up in many forms: as affection, feels warm and connective; as devotion, it stays when things are hard; as grace, it forgives without excusing harm; and as service, it gives without keeping score. And that's what we're recognizing with our parents. Importantly, love is not the same as attachment, desire, or sacrifice of self. Healthy love does not diminish you. It expands you. It expands you. In its most mature form, love is less about how you feel and more about how you choose to be. I want to say that again because that is profound. In its mature form, love is less about how you feel and more about how you choose to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Young love feels so butterfly and amazing and beautiful. However, it's the mature love, that enduring love of being, that stands the test of time. In the Bible, love is the very nature of God and the foundation of how humans are meant to live. We're meant to live in love. We came from love, we're meant to live in love, and we return to love. And love is the most important facet of being alive. God is love. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 John 4:8. Biblical love begins not with human emotion, with God's character. Love is eternal, faithful, and initiating. It moves toward us first. Love is a command, not just a feeling. Jesus names love as the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I want to share with you how hard that one was, because a number of years ago, my son created a situation with my neighbor, and my neighbor went crazy and called me names that start with C and end with T. He was a filthy bastard. And I would say to God, God, I'm having a very hard time loving my neighbor right now. I'm having a very hard time seeing the light of God in him. And it was so painful. And I was in so much fear that I would grid my house. You have no idea what I went through during that time, because I work at home, and to have that energy coming from that side was so horrible that I will never not share the love of Archangel Michael and his Legion of Mercy, because I felt them. I felt them. And even though that was happening, I was tested. Can I love him at a soul level? Not the human part that was awful and berating and dangerous. I had phoned the police 3 times. So friends, I'm not saying love is not always easy. We are tested in the name of love. In scripture, love is an act of obedience. It's something you do, even when emotions fluctuate. Now, you might have heard this word, agape. It's the highest form of love. The New Testament often uses the Greek word agape, meaning self-giving love, sacrificial love, love that seeks the good of another without expecting return. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son to us. John 3:16. We are so very loved. And it took me a long time to believe that I was loved, that I was worthy, that I was enough, and to affirm, I am enough, I am worthy, I am loved. This kind of love gives, serves, and lays itself down. You know, often mothers especially say, like, we would lay our lives down. I would for my son. What love looks like in daily life. You guys are so quiet today. Say hello. I see about 6 of us on right now. Say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Now, what love looks like in daily life. One of the most quoted biblical passages defines love by its actions. Can you guess which one it is? Love is patient. Love is kind. It keeps no record of wrongs. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It keeps no record of wrongs. And when I was putting this together, I was like, you know, God, I'm really proud of myself because I walked through something last year that on a higher self level, because I've been taught how to do that, I would say to this person's higher self, I told you I loved you, and yet you turned around and betrayed me. Hi, Alyssa. I love you, sister. Young sister. You know how much I love your dad? My brother from another mother. Biblical love is patient, kind, humble, truthful, enduring. It is not controlling, abusive, jealous, or self-seeking. And I said this to a friend yesterday because sometimes when you are truthful to a person, they might not like it. They might perceive it as you being too straightforward. And then I was talking to God and I was like, and God, if I wasn't truthful with this friend, am I being a good friend? Am I? And so sometimes it's in the delivery. Love is always based on truth. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is humble and enduring. So now let's talk a little bit of love and sacrifice. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. John 15:13. In the Bible, love costs something. It involves surrender, forgiveness, and choosing the good of another, even when it's hard. According to Jesus, love is the proof of true discipleship. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. John 13:35. Love is not optional in biblical faith. It is the evidence. Biblical love is not fleeting emotion. It is faithful, covenantal, sacrificial, and rooted in God Himself, revealed most fully through Christ and lived out through compassion, truth, and grace. Tuning into hate, when you turn to hate or tune into hate, love is a practice, not a switch. So you want to turn that hate into love by recognizing that it's a transformation of the heart. And you guys, I have been like a broken record, and I have been saying how the heart is the root of everything. When your heart is bitter, in pain, feeling betrayal, feeling judged, are you at your highest loving self? I know I'm not. And so really turning that hate into love and tuning into love is a transformation process. And so let's talk a little bit about the hate, because we want to transform it, because this is the truth of the matter. We're all going to feel it. Hate often begins as unhealed pain, fear, or injustice. The Bible never asks us to deny what we feel, but it asks us not to live there. Be angry and do not sin, Ephesians 4:26. Acknowledging anger or hurt honesty is the first act of integrity. So let me say that again. Acknowledging anger or hurt honestly is the first act of integrity. Suppressing it hardens it. Naming it opens the door to healing. This is why in the spiritual world, we say you need to feel it to heal it. And if you're not in awareness of what are you feeling, where are you maybe feeling hate, that's when you're being integral with yourself. And being integral with yourself is that, right? You're not BSing the universe within you, the God within you. Hate grows when it is rehearsed through rumination, storytelling, and retaliation. I wish my brother was online right now, because as a family, we are walking through something right now with one of our younger ones, and retaliation is never of God. Scripture offers a radical interruption. Do not repay evil for evil. Romans 12:17. This does not mean approving harm. Did you hear me? This does not mean approving harm. It means refusing to let harm shape who you become. Jesus models this on the cross. Just put a hand on your heart and receive this. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23:34. Love does not deny wrongdoing. Love recognizes that broken people act from broken places. I really need to send this to my brother. Love recognizes that broken people act from broken places. And we were having a conversation yesterday. I am so grateful that I have siblings. And they are my greatest teachers, and they are my first friends that God afforded me. And we are all walking through profound levels of grief. And I have now been entrusted as the eldest in the family. One of my mentors said to me, "You are now the matriarch of the family, whether they like it or not." And I was like, I don't know if I want that duty. And then I was like, well, I guess I was born for this. And so what I recognize in that is I am meant to heal more. And when they open the door and they ask me for support, that is when I will lend it. I do not hover. I do not preach. I do not push, and I do not ask them to be like me. Love does not deny wrongdoing. This shift from enemy to wounded human softens the heart without surrendering wisdom or boundaries. Can you see how we are all wounded humans? And recognizing who the enemy might be. Hello, love. Hi, Trish. I had to really sit with that one. Because sometimes some people, by their actions, might feel like an enemy. You know, in government, we have enemies of the state. In the world, we do have good and bad. We have light and dark. And I really had to sit with this one. That I truly don't have enemies. That we are all wounded humans. And I loved where the angels guided me to remember that it was to surrender to the wisdom within me and to remember that boundaries are healthy. That my fences or my walls, my boundaries are good. And I had to say this to somebody one day that, you know, this is the way that I see it now. And I've been on this journey 15 years. This is what a lot of people don't recognize. 15 years. And I've stayed quiet for a lot of these years up until really, until the last, especially 2, where I couldn't silence myself anymore. That I truly wanted to embody being a teacher, sharing love and light, sharing my healing, because it was therapy for me. And that was a way that I could heal my throat chakra. I could heal the cancer in my old story. And it was how I could step into who I was becoming in the eyes of God. And so I do my best not to see people as enemies. Doesn't mean that I am perfect at it. I am not. I had a beautiful conversation with a beautiful friend today, an hour, and when I looked at it, it was over an hour today. And she was saying to me, Juliana, I understand that these 2 years of your parents, losing your parents and everything, I can understand your healing, and don't remember your softness. Don't remember your softness. She says you can be strong like an oak tree, but remember to be like a pussy willow. That's soft, right? Pussy willows are soft and fuzzy like velvet. And I said to her, thank you. Thank you. I loved being told that. And her delivery was so non-judgmental and loving and kind and supportive. And I heard her. And I understood in that moment that I am a wounded human, and I can see myself as that. I am not an enemy of anybody, nor is anybody my enemy. Because remember, we're all mirrors, and to be more love. So, biblical love is not sentimental. It is deliberate. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 5:44. Prayer here is not about warm feelings. It is about releasing the grip hate has on your inner life. You pray not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. And people wonder why I really turned to prayer. Well, my mother was alive. My mother was my first prayer warrior. There was not a day that she did not pray for us. And when she died, if you think I didn't feel it. And so I thought, what am I going to do? And I remembered her saying to me one day, I had said to her, Mom, I need you to pray for me. And can you call X, Y, and Z to pray for me too? Because I know that their prayers are strong. And she goes, honey, God hears your prayers too. Your prayers are no less important. And that is when I was like, and I don't know how many years ago that was now, I created my prayer community. And then Sunny recognized my sacred gift of prayer, and she invited me to be the prayer minister in her community. It'll be 10 years this year. This is what I say, friends. I know a little bit. I've experienced a lot. And I'm learning to speak my truth with love. And this is why I felt so strongly guided that I wanted to come and share this today from a place of learning to be a benchmark, a starting point for some of us. A recalibration, if you will, to remember that there is good out there. That the opposite of love is fear. And what is out there right now is not of love. It is of fear. And every day we have our own discernment and our own choices to be and do and have the love that we desire. So let's talk about practicing small acts of love first. Because you don't just jump from hate to affection. Oh God, no. It does not work like that. This is how it usually works. You move from hate to restraint to neutrality to compassion. And this is really important because this is why all of the teachers that I've had in the past, all of the great teachers from Celebrate Your Life and I Can Do It, and yes, there is a fall from grace right now, and I'm being guided to remember that we all have shadow. And to use your discernment still. We all have good. And we all have shadow. And just because a teacher is having a fall from grace right now, remember they're mirroring all of us. And so to be mindful with how we judge. Love can begin as silence instead of retaliation, boundaries instead of bitterness, wishing healing rather than harm. You know, I said this to my brother the other day because a lot of times we judge, we're human. And I have been taught, instead of judging, to ask, I wonder what their story is. I wonder what that person's gone through that they are the way that they are today. I wonder. Even God's love unfolds patiently. Patiently. Remember, love is patient. Let love heal you, friends. Hate imprisons the heart. Hate imprisons the heart. Love frees it. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. 1 Peter 4:8. This is not about forgetting. It is about choosing freedom over poison. And that's what I said to my brother the other day. I said, look, Nick, I've learned that there's an analogy. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Interesting, right? Love is not unforgiveness. Love is forgiveness. And let me preface that by saying, because I did say, Nick, I've had to practice what I preach. I've had to forgive a person, but that does not mean that I will ever forget what they have done to me. Because I can make choices to never be in that person's presence ever again. Doesn't mean that I hate them. I can send love, especially to my own heart. And I can be loving and I can be kind, and I let it start with me, my own mind. I'm kind to my mind. I'm kind to my heart, my body. And I think I struck a nerve in him. I think a light bulb went off. And he said, thank you. I said, you're welcome. This is not about forgetting. It's about choosing the freedom over poison. That's worth repeating. Freedom over poison. How many of us are walking around with poison in our lives? That's why there's such a great state of dis-ease. Because we're all walking around with poison. The other person is walking around doing their damn thing. And this is what I want to say to that. The Almighty sees everything. The Almighty is the keeper of the score, not us. We're meant to heal our hearts, our minds, our lives. And we're meant to enjoy this life. And we're meant to be kind. And kindness is an expression of love. And let me tell you, God has had me practice. Because in 2015, I knew that one of the most healing roads of my life would be to learn kindness. And I had to start with me. And that is when I created Kindness Crew Calgary Society Limited. Because you take it out of self and you recognize the soul in each of us and you be of service to mankind. And I think it was Muhammad Ali? There is please forgive me, I don't remember the quote, I just remember the quote. Being kind to others is the price we pay for living on this planet. We're meant to be kind. We're meant to heal. In essence, we turn hate into love by facing pain honestly, refusing to become what hurt us, choosing mercy without abandoning truth, letting God transform the heart over time. How many of you, and you're so quiet today, how many of you have been blessed with seeing people in the news who maybe parents, maybe husbands or wives or mothers and fathers of children who maybe have been murdered or something heinous has happened, and they've come out and they've said, I forgive them. And this is not political, please forgive me, but who the angels are bringing into my awareness, because it just happened not long ago, is Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk was murdered, shot in the head in front of her. And what did she say? She came out and said that she forgave the shooter. She forgave the shooter. How many of us could do the same thing? Now, this is not about Erica Kirk, and this is not about Charlie Kirk. This is not about that. This is about humans choosing forgiveness. Because what I have recognized, yes, Alyssa, it is huge. And even as a student of the world, I've done A Course in Miracles a couple of times, and one of the most profound lessons I learned in that is that unforgiveness blocks the light of the world. Unforgiveness blocks the light of the world. Well, who is the light of the world? It is God. It is Jesus. And when I am in unforgiveness, because he died for us, so I am meant to forgive. I am meant to move on with my life. I'm meant to not forget. I'm meant to be peace. I'm meant to share peace. And I'm meant to heal. And letting God transform my heart. Now, I want to say, love is not weakness. In Scripture, love is the strongest force there is. strong enough to absorb hate and still remain whole. I want you to just let that land for a moment. Love is the strongest force there is. Does it feel like there's a lot of love in the collective right now? What feels like it might be winning? Remember that fear? False evidence appearing real. We're being fed a lot of crap right now. Some of us call it consumption. What are we consuming? This is why I do my best not to watch the news. And unfortunately, with the the medium that I love the most, Instagram and Facebook, there's a lot right now. And whether you follow pages or whether you don't, they're feeding it to us. And normally the 2% of people that we see in the algorithm, they have shifted it. So what we're seeing now is all this fear. And this is why we need to amp up our discernment. We need to choose love even more. We need to heal the hate within our own fields. So I created a prayer to release. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to go into a little prayer. If you feel guided, put a hand on your heart. It goes like this. God of love and mercy, I come to you with a heavy heart. I now release what I was never meant to carry. Just breathe in and breathe out. The anger that tightens my chest. The resentment that clouds my peace. The pain that keeps replaying in my mind. I do not deny what hurt me. I place it into your hands. Release me from the need to replay the past. Release me from the burden of bitterness. Release me from the false belief that holding on will protect me. I choose freedom. I choose peace. I choose love. One breath, one moment at a time. Where my heart is wounded, please bring healing. Where I feel hardened, soften me gently. Where forgiveness feels impossible, please meet me with grace. I ask not to forget, but to be free. Please fill the space that anger once occupied with calm, clarity, and compassion. Restore my spirit, guard my heart. I trust you with what I release today. I trust you with what I am becoming. Amen. And so it is. So just receive that for a moment. Is sometimes that easy, just talking to God in a prayer. Now we're going to talk a little bit in this last segment about love as a daily practice, because this is what I've learned. You cannot just do it once and be finished with it. You need to make a conscious effort, just like we bathe every day, just like we eat every day, just like we drink our water, move our bodies, whatever it is. Pray, meditate. We need to make love a daily practice. And today is Self-Love Day. It is also Galentine's. So, of course, my number one, love towards self. Self-compassion instead of self-judgment. And this is a big one. Allowing emotions without shame. How many of you were shamed? Maybe for being too sensitive. Oh, you're so sensitive, Julie. Like I was somehow not good enough. Now I recognize I am so sensitive. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Divine. Speaking kindly to your inner child. Do you speak kindly to him or her? Because I know I did not. This is kind of how it went in the early days. Is it any wonder I manifested cancer? I would say things to myself like, oh my God, what's the matter with you? You're so stupid. You're so fat. You're so ugly. What's the matter with you? You should be smarter than that. Is it any wonder I got sick? And now I thank God for my great awakening. Choosing love begins in the places we are hardest on ourselves. And if we can't choose love for ourselves, we cannot sustain it for others. This is why so many friendships break down. This is why marriages break down. This is why children are so disconnected right now. And last night, my husband and I were talking about it because our son, Paulo, I don't know if he knows how blessed he is. Because he was saying, like, you know, as a dad, I tell him every day, I love you. Yeah, of course, we're not perfect humans. Of course, I'm sure my son needs therapy for some of the things that we've said and done because we are human. And because we're walking through our own journeys. Remember, if we can't choose love for ourselves, we can't sustain it for others. So number one, you guys, as a daily practice, you need to choose yourself. And that is the lesson I've been imparting on my brother. Because it's the biggest one. When you truly love yourself, you create healthy boundaries. You stand in your power. You speak your truth with love. What happens is you elevate your vibration. And those low-level vibes that you used to allow will slowly, slowly clear itself out. Now, number two is love toward others. Boundaries without bitterness, truth without cruelty, compassion without self-abandonment. So that means love doesn't mean saying yes to harm. Love means refusing to harden. And where I have had to practice that meant that I remember one time with one of my mentors being in one of her vision board classes, and she came up to me and she put her hand on my shoulder and she looked at my vision board. And I think that was about 7 years ago. And she said to me, oh, honey, you need boundaries. She brought me this big ass word boundaries to put on my vision board. I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't even know what a boundary was. I didn't have any. And again, not in judgment. I wasn't taught boundaries. I needed to learn them. I needed to learn how to create boundaries. I needed to learn how to stand in my boundaries. I needed to learn how to sustain my boundaries. Number three, love as spiritual power. Now, this is not ego power. This is power of the divine within you, that deep wisdom. Remember, love raises your frequency. Love also creates an energetic protection. Love heals ancestral and collective wounds. How many of you have heard when we heal seven, oh my God, I'm losing my words right now. 7 behind us. It's like 7 lifetimes behind us and 7 lifetimes ahead of us. That's how important it is that we heal. Love is not passive. It is transformative. Love changes you first, and that's how love changes the world. Can you see how timely this is right now? because we're meant to amp up the love vibration. That's how we transform the hate. And it's interesting because the lovely friend that I was speaking to this morning said to me, you know, there is so much fear and there's so much out there that so many institutions are a part of this collective fear. And if we bring them all to justice, what are we going to do with them? Where are we going to put them all? And I said, that is a very good question. And what came into my, maybe it doesn't feel very loving, but I was like, with what happened, we should send them all to that island and release the lions. And just let the lions have their way with them. Because what they did to these children and these young girls, do they deserve to live in jail and be fed? I don't know if that's loving. I don't know. That's my humanity right now. I don't know. That's a big question for another day. Oh, my goodness, you guys. I had created a meditation, but I'm feeling like this is going a little long. So let's see how we're going to close it today. I want to shout out to Sunny Dawn Johnston right now because a number of years ago, she had a movement and it was called What Would Love Say? And I jumped on that right away. What would love say? And often in mentoring and in a lot of my one-on-one, she would guide me back to that. What would love say in this, G? And so one of the questions that I want to ask you is, what would love do without abandoning me? You know, and when you're triggered, putting a hand on your heart and asking yourself that, what would love do? What would love do in this case without abandoning who I am? And to ask yourself these questions. Where do I notice hate, fear, or hardness showing up in my life right now? Where is it showing up? And what emotion is underneath all of it? And how can I choose love right here, right now, while I still honor myself? And let me tell you, friends, when people are used to you being a certain way, when you have no boundaries, people will push buttons that maybe you didn't even know that you had. And this is why I stay in community. This is why I stay in a healing community, in a transformation community. Because I know that until the day God calls me home, I'm going to have healing to do. So I want us to all affirm right now. I choose love that is wise, grounded, and strong. And you might think that this one question, what would love do, is not very profound in this moment, but I just gently guide you to sit with it. A lot is going on in the world. And when Sunny had the movement, she created bracelets. And I would wear it. And even today, I still have some because I was a What Would Love Say ambassador. And I don't know if you guys, if you followed me in the early days, you know, I did random acts of kindness. And we would leave things out in the community. And these bracelets, you know the bracelets I'm talking about, they're like, I don't know if they're rubber or whatever they are, but they're just little bracelets. And it would say, what would love say? And it was a movement. And I still have it. And some days when I get so angry with my kid, I remind myself, what would love do right now? Now, that doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be a doormat. And creating boundaries means that some people are going to push back. And you may be tested in ways that you were never tested before. And there may be a period of isolation, a recalibration. a retuning of your field. And this is why I have the blessing of being on Joy and Vitality Center page today as well. Why practices such as the salt cave, the salt booth, sound bowls, yoga, meditation are so important. Because it is not one way is the right way. There are a multitude of ways to clear your energy. And I did do a post that I will share in the comments when we're done of clearing energy. I felt guided to that this morning as well, but we don't need to go through all of that or we'll be here another half an hour. But it's to clear your energy often. There are many ways. It's a practice, my friends. A daily practice. And we're not saying that you need to do everything all at once. The way that I found I was able to sustain myself was by creating a daily practice. And some days it is more heavier in prayer than other days. Some days it's heavier in moving my body than other days. Some days it's heavier in joy than other days. It just depends. You have to go with the flow. My angels are saying, you know, Juliana, you need to be the flow. Jump into the flow, friends, and put love as a part of your practice each and every day. And let it begin with you. Now to close for today, I'm going to give you a couple journal prompts as homework. Choosing love. These are some questions you can ask yourself and journal on today, if you feel guided. Where have I been asked to choose love instead of fear? What does love look like when I honor my boundaries? How does my body feel when I choose love? And what would change if love led my responses? Now, these are huge because what I recognized was when I tapped into love each and every day, I recognized how I felt. My nervous system felt calm. It didn't feel charged. I felt beautiful. I felt good with my health. I felt good in my mind. Everything felt good. And as I began to unwind my nervous system that was wound up for years and years and years, and when I tapped into that calm, that love, that peace, I said, I want more of this, please. And that is why when I went down the rabbit hole the other day, my husband said to me in his wisdom, G, that's not good for you. And I said, thank you. You are right. Because my husband and my son recognize I'm a much better G when I am vibrating in the frequency of love. I am more compassionate. I am more kind. I am funny. I look beautiful without even a lot of makeup on. And I feel good. And I'm making a difference out in the world. And maybe that is your intention as well. So today, I hope that this little masterclass on love has helped you. I would love to hear if you stayed on the whole thing or whether you're going to feel guided to watch it on the replay. I am open to your feedback. And I want to close with this blessing. Every time you choose love over hate, you heal something far bigger than the moment. I want to say that again. Every time you choose love over hate, you heal something far bigger than the moment. I want to close with that, friends. Be the change you want to see in the world. Choose love each and every day. And if I can be of service, you know where to find me, because I know this journey is not always easy. However, when we choose the love of God, when we choose love over fear, when we choose kindness and we heal hate, we're changing the world. And if you think that your soul doesn't matter, I'm here to give you a reignition of the fact of just how much your presence on this planet is making a difference. Because you came here as love. And if you don't think that there is an invisible battle going on, there is. And that is when the divine brought on my heart to create this. Because they said to me, G, we know you're feeling like we've left you. And we haven't. And if you feel like that, just imagine those that may not feel as close as we know you are. And that's all part of the journey. Choose love. Happy Galentine's, happy Self-Love Day. And I want to let you know you are so loved by the divine. On behalf of Joy and Vitality Center and myself, God bless you, and we will see you again next time. Bye for now, everybody.